Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to talk about how it's actually harder to find reliable employees than it is to build a multi-million dollar business. Now, I'm going to read an article from about 10 years ago, I think a little bit more than 10 years ago, about a business owner who built a multi-million dollar business and is ranting about what's wrong with my millennial employees. So I kind of have the same complaints about other people. In fact, I'm a millennial and I actually agree with a lot of this article because I have the same complaints about other millennials, right? And also have the same complaints about the next generation and just how in general, my expectations have lowered so much these days. When someone tells me they're going to do something and they actually do it, I'm like, oh my goodness, you actually said what you're gonna do. Let me give you money. That's my mentality these days. But a lot of people, for some reason, that I've dealt with, they say they want to do something and then they just don't do it. And I might make another video about that. But let's just read this article. So, a Gen Xers rant, what's wrong with my millennial employees? Doesn't anyone under 30 want to work? One Gen X business owner laments an all too common workplace generation gap. So, this is by Maria Jimenez, co founder of Orchid Boutique. So, I never imagined that the toughest problem I would have in running a multi-million dollar business would not be getting off the ground, staying afloat, or growing at a rapid pace. While all huge challenges, they're a walk in the park compared to the biggest obstacle I've dealt with in 5.5 years of business, recruiting a group of loyal, competent young employees under 30 years old. I like to think my problem isn't that I'm just an old fart. I own a luxury swimwear e-commerce platform and most recently a brick and mortar location in Miami Beach as well with my husband. We're 32-year-old owners with a startup mentality. We like to care deeply about our culture, frequently discussing our values and hosting regular company hours. I like to think, though we're always busy, we're a very engaging and passionate company with a slew of opportunities for growth. When I was 23, I used to dream about being a company that cared about what I thought. That saw my true potential and gave me challenging responsibilities. Turns out our millennial staffers don't see it that way, and while I know I can't generalize my experience to a whole generation, I also doubt my young employees are unique. Here are my list of grievances. Now, here's the thing. Before I actually get into the grievances, I know that there are a lot of employers out there who are delusional, right? Like they think they do all these things, and then when you get in a driver's seat, it turns out they're quite awful. Let's just assume while reading this article, this person is honest and actually, genuine in how she describes her business and how she treats her employees. I think, there's always based on if you're an employer or an employee, just have to do your role right. So for example, if I'm an employee, I just have to do my job as best as I can, and hopefully the employer will do what they're supposed to do and vice versa, right? And I don't know if you ever watched the movie like Office Space. That's from the point of view of you doing things right as an employee and you being wronged by your employer. Now, the same filmmaker or the same person who made the film, Mike Judge, actually made a movie called Extract. I don't know if you were aware of that, where basically you're frustrated as the employer because none of your employees are doing what they're supposed to do. And that movie, I think, bombed at the box office. And I think one of the reasons it bombed is because not a lot of people, there's more workers than there are bosses, right? And so if there are more people who can relate to what the movie's message is, that movie will probably be a lot more popular, and that's probably why Office Space was a much more popular than Extract. But I think Extract is a decent movie to watch, but it actually is about the challenges of being a boss. Okay, so let me just keep reading. So here's a list of grievances. They're cocky. I've yet to give a millennial leadership position and have them accept their new role with humility. Once you give them a fancy title like assistant buyer or marketing specialist, they automatically seem to think they're God's gift to you, your clients, and your other employees. They're not afraid to speak to others in a condescending manner or even to talk back to you. They nonchalantly move through life doing things I would have dreamt of doing to any of my superiors, let alone the owner of my company when I was their age. Number two, they take things for granted. So millennials seem to think they have a ton of options. You ever like deal with that? People who are delusional, they think they have a ton of options. I deal with that all the time. But let me just keep reading. Even in a recession hobbled economy with very few challenging entry level job openings and even fewer in the fashion industry, 20 somethings seem to think their options are endless. That makes them less aware of how grateful they should be for the things that they have, especially the unique opportunity to get paid to learn the ins and outs of an luxury industry startup. Recent graduates, regardless of where they went to school from time immemorial, have been asked to make copies and bring people coffee. Millennials, on the other hand, seem to think that they should have been rolled out the red carpet when they popped out of school. So I might disagree with this first part because, if you're a college graduate, you shouldn't be relegated just to making copies and bringing people coffee, right? A little bit, you're a little bit more than that, but at the same time, you shouldn't think you're an A-list star. Um, just because you graduated college, right? If you're not Tom Cruise, you ain't an A-list star. All right, let's keep reading. They think they're exempt from rules. I don't remember the last time I told a new employee something he or she followed verbatim for the first time. In the beginning, before they understand implicitly that carelessness is not a value we favor, almost all millennials demonstrate that they don't care what the consequences of their actions will be. These are all activities they seem to think are normal. Sending emails to clients with blatant grammatical mistakes, knowingly telling customers incorrect information because they think that's a better answer, and ignoring inquiry from their boss. This one, they don't follow through. If they end the day without finishing tasks, they'll come in the next morning and forget they need to finish this. Oh, this is I can relate to this one. So many people out there, you just have to follow through with them. Just make sure that they do their job, right? All right, let me keep reading. I see myself explaining over and over the term follow through as if it were some complex mathematical equation that only rocket scientists could grasp. Our normal expectation for an adult over 21 is that they're able to take care of tasks with little supervision without having to be reminded. That's not the case with even our most responsible millennials. They don't want to pay their dues. It's the culture of now for them. Frankly, this makes our fairly minor age difference seem like the gap of the century. When I graduated from college, my peers and I were fully aware that our first year or two in the workforce would be spent in dull jobs because you have to start from the bottom and work your way up. Now, again, I don't necessarily agree just because you graduate college that you should be, making coffees or, handing people coffee. That's more like an addition rather than, hey, that's a requirement, right? But and also I don't think you should spend it in dull jobs. I feel like in every stage of your life you should be um, engaged in your own development and not just be like, oh, I'm going to be bored for the first 2 years of doing this. That's not how I think things should work. So I do disagree with that. But let me just keep continuing. That mentality got me where I am today. Too many young staffers think that they're entitled to a high salary and the most glamorous tasks when they have no experience or proven track record. And I think this is a real problem too, right? I actually do agree with this, that there are so many people out there who are delusional about their own capabilities, and they think like I'm Tom Cruise when you're not Tom Cruise. Pay your dues, work a little bit. If you're not, if you want to be a YouTuber, don't think that just because you make like two videos, you're going to get a million subs, right? And I know there are plenty of people out there like that, but you look at American Idol, right? A lot of people think they're better than they think they are. All right, so do you have this problem? I feel like breaking open the anti-suicide window of my 24th office and calling all smart, stable, humble, fashion-oriented people. Can you please show up on work today on time? Isn't that sad? And this is like 10 years ago. I can't imagine the problem being better these days, you know? And this is just by experience working with other people. Most people are pretty unreliable. And maybe always been like this way because I don't know if you ever heard of Price's Law. And Price's Law says something like, oh, the square root of all employees do 50% of the work. So, for example, if you had a 10,000 person company, then that means 100 people do 50% of the work. And so the 90,900 and whatever, 990 or no, 99,000 people at the rest of the company do the rest of the 50%. So it's like this huge gap of people who are productive and unproductive. But yeah, so what do you think? Do you think, is that your experience? I feel like this has been my experience for a long time as an adult. And I guess maybe it was a millennial adult thing where everybody just decided that, hey, not caring or not being trustworthy or saying what you're going to do is actually like it's a trait that we don't have to have. I don't know why my generation decided to collectively think that because it drove me nuts, right? Drove me really nuts that so many people are like that, and I'm pretty sure with the next generation, it's probably worse. But what about you? Do you have experiences like that? Leave a comment below. This is why I try to be as lean as possible, at least for now. And then maybe, who knows, I'll make so much money that I'll be like all the other companies where I do have 10,000 employees, and then only 100 of them will be productive, and the rest will be like, you know, a charity. I'll say that. All right, so this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Go ahead and click the link, Google form link below if you're interested in joining our group for mentorship. We learn about financial literacy, real estate investing education, and other than that, I don't think I have anything else to go over other than maybe I'll just emphasize this one more time. It's easier to build a multi-million dollar business than find good employees. And I'm actually going to put a link to this article down below. So if you want to look at the article, you can see it for yourself. All right. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll speak next time.